Deep Dive with Alpha, where relationship meets transformation. And this is the conversation that I just kind of brought about based on the question a reader had asked from my book, Unbound, which is the roadmap for women of faith who are professional and seeking freedom from the relationship they have. And this freedom is not about setting themselves free for a D word, a divorce. Rather, it is a freedom to experience a more fulfilling relationship in their marriages. You have been successful in your professional work. You have been amazing in leading others, creating significant changes within organizations. And you are kind of driving high on your professional life. But your relationship life is questionable. You have prayed, if you are one who prays. You have fasted, you've done all the things, and you've gone to church every Sunday, give your tenth, and hands have been laid upon you. But yet you're finding yourself in this place where things are not where you want them to be as it pertains to your relationship. You want that spotlight that you're experiencing in your professional life, so is in your marriage or relationship as a whole. By the way, I'm going to ask that you just kind of allow me to have this conversation, because it's a conversation that has been in my mind after this reader posed this question. And I just finished my run and I was like, since the thought was in my mind, let me just present it. So bear with my makeup that is coming down as a sweat. No, it's a sweat, no makeup. But I just want to have that conversation quick before I kind of sat down and do the mundane of the evening and settle and forget about this. But I made my decision that I'm going to answer this question in this very simple conversation as part of my podcast. So this is kind of a bonus conversation. Usually I do once a week, but in this week, I'm going to drop 2 episodes of this, which is the regular conversation and this as well. My name is Alpha. I am a life coach. But I believe that life meets transformation when we have conversation that truly transforms us, that allow us to renew our mind so that we can experience the transformation we need. And in this podcast, we are going to have those type of conversation. I'm not going to shy away from any subject, and all of them, we are talking them from the faith point of view. So you do not have to listen to a podcast and sacrifice your faith. Here, you get your cake and get to eat it too. Let's get going. The question that was asked, because in my program, I talk a lot about this concept of conformity. But in my book, I talk about this concept of acceptance, allowance, where you're allowing things. And in the book, I started with this very simple concept where we're told the children of Israel, they lived in Canaan. But you know what I'm talking about. And famine entered the land. So they went out in search for food. In essence, they were out and about in effort of surviving, preservation. At all is preservation. They wanted to preserve their existence because they could not do so in a place where famine was worse. Actually, it covers the whole land. But because of Joseph, Egypt had excess. That's where the setting of the story begins. And so was your marriage. Because somebody asked me, what is the relationship? And how does that have to do with this concept of conformity as I talk about in the cause? So I'm going to break it down. So Egypt, Canaan, it's a lowland area. It's considered to be, because of course the geographical area of Canaan is a lowland. Lowland have a significant meaning in the scriptures. Of course, Canaan is a promised land as well. So it is the lowland that is promised of you. But here they are in the promised land, because let's be honest, if they were really talking about Canaan, God promised the children of Israel to go to a promised land. And they get to the promised land. As they continue to thrive, famine enters the land, and not a single Israelite was smart enough to be able to say, let's preserve food as Joseph did in Egypt. In an essence, Egyptians were favored because of Joseph, but Israelites were punished because of Joseph. Brother, that's what you want to say? God is not a God who punishes people. So the story goes, lowland is a place, when you think of a lowland as in the land, you have high land. So if you have to buy a land, will you buy a land that is lowland or you buy a high land? Normally, a highland is known for being very fertile. Usually acidity level usually is higher because of its high the elevation, the presence of the sun, the rain, and so many factors contribute to why people want to live in a highland because it's of its benefit. Lowland is subject to floods and every other aspect. It doesn't mean it's not fertile land. It's just that there are other factors you have to consider. So as a highland, but at the end of the day, when you take from the content, most people refer to be at the higher land. So lowland is a symbol of something that is not of a greater value. It is valuable, but not greater value. And in this case, the children of Israel symbolizes your journey. You are at a place where you are valuable as a single person, valuable as a single lady, a professional lady who's successful and single. You had that value. You had the value of a single mother. You still have that value, but not greater than, because you feel less than for not having a relationship that is meaningful. So, as a single lady, you took a journey because you heard about Egypt. There is more food and you can buy food in Egypt. Egypt is not a great place either. In fact, Egypt is always perceived as a place of limitation. What do people tell you about marriage? And you're going to be confined. You're going to have this. It's a place where you are limited. You're no longer all over the place. You're more limited in your focus because you have somebody before you call your partner. That's Egypt. I hope that makes sense when you take the comparison of the two. As a single person, you are valuable, but not greater than. Then you went out in search for this place called Egypt. Egypt is a place of limitations where you do more but receive less in return, as the story informs us about the children of Israel. That's Egypt. Your marriage is the very Egypt described in the scripture. But in the presence in Egypt, as the children of Israel enter Egypt, they met Joseph. So I'm going to lay down the characters played there. So you have the children of Israel. And who are the children of Israel? The children of Israel came to be after who? Jacob. Jacob fought an angel. He said he fought a God and man and won. And he was told, because you have done so. He didn't fight God. He didn't fight man in that battle. He was actually afraid of his brother. So what does the scripture say? I mean, common sense will tell you, and it makes no sense. He was afraid of his brother. He didn't fight his brother. So why is it called that he fought man and God? It's very, very simple. The story told he fought an angel. And it's an angel who said, because you fought man and God, your name will be Israel. So Israel is a person, not a nation. There is a nation called Israel, just like there is a place called Egypt, and there's people called Egyptians. But the scriptures is not talking about Egyptians, nor the Egypt as a land. And in this case, it is not talking about the children of Israel today who occupy a land in Gaza and any other areas of those considered the territory of Israel. It's talking about this person, a person who have fought God and men. And what God and men, in that story, we know Jacob fought an angel. And in the book of Deuteronomy, it says, I will send my angel, whom in it, it's me. So an angel is a messenger. Your desire is the very messenger. Man symbolizes an outer appearance, red dirt, your circumstances. Adam was called Adam because Adamah, the red sand, which is a symbol of your circumstances. So a person who is willing to conquer their circumstances as a single person, you're a single person who aspire to find a union that is meaningful, an angel. If you can conquer the two, you are the very Israelites described in the scripture. But not only that, you have to conquer a relationship, you have conquered something before. You are a professional person. So you have conquered at some point in your professionalism, when you are pursuing, when you're being educated, when you started, you had this aspiration to be successful in your professional. And because you had this aspiration to be successful in your professional, you pursued it. Your circumstances were saying you are not a professional, but you said, I want to be one. So I'm going to do what is necessary to be one. Your circumstances was Adam, was man. It's a symbol of your experience, your circumstances. So you said, I am going to fight. I am going to be the professional I want to be. I want to be the professional woman I want to be. I want to be a woman, professional woman of faith I want to be. And you conquer that. Because you had conquered that, you are an Israelite by symbol, not by nation, not by race. You can go and declare, I'm an Israelite, I'm born, even if you can testify to the fact, it won't change a thing about your life. Only when you apply that information in a way that it should be applied, then you're going to start seeing the difference in your life. And in this case, the journey begins where we're told, so an Israelite is a person who have, you might have stumbled other area, but you have, in some area of your life, conquered your circumstances through the idea or the desire at hand. At best, you're still walking, you're still breathing. You already conquer. So it is anybody can identify themselves as Israelites from the scripture point of view. As a person who have conquered their circumstances, despite being impossible, they rose over in lieu of a particular desire. That they said, I want to finish my education. But the education says you have not finished. It's not something terrible. No, it's just talking about a person who is a human being who is progressive. Simple. That's an Israel. A human being who is progressive. In order to be progressive, you have to conquer your circumstances that says you are not, in lieu of the desire to be. So you have a desire to be, which is the angel you're going to fight. And within the angel is God, because that's what the book of Deuteronomy tells us. Within an angel is God. And if you wonder where that is, let me see if I can find my phone here quickly. I don't know, somewhere. But you can search it where it says, I'm going to send an angel before you. Listen to his advice. Because if you don't, that angel, what they say, you will be punished for the fact. Because in the angel is me, meaning that the angel is God. So when the angel in the book of Jacob, when he says in the, I think it's in is Exodus where that story is, when Jacob was fighting an angel, because in the angel is God. So therefore, that's why it was said, you have won, you have fought both God and man and won. See there? That's where that statement is coming from, because we know he didn't fight God in that story. But because the angel is God, because in the presence of an angel is God. So therefore, that's a very key. And the angel is simply a symbol. There is no angel flying around. Get out of here. So that's what that story is. So you are very Israelite, But in this particular story or this journey of a relationship, you lived in Canaan, a great place, a promised place, but it's not greater than. And guess what? You're like, man, I would love to get married. I would love to have a relationship that is meaningful. I would love to have family. These are things that you said you would love. But these things doesn't come in a box. You cannot order on Amazon. You have to enter into an agreement somewhere. That agreement you're entering is Egypt. Not the person you are marrying. No. The agreement you are entering is what is called Egypt, because it's a place of limitation. It's not limitation because it's a bad place. It's a place of limitation because it is forced you to focus on an individual, that on a situation, on an environment that is before you. Well, before you looked all over and you might have engaged in every place. But suddenly you get into this, you're saying, I want this. To have it, you have to go to Egypt, a place of limitations where things are limited. You are no longer your own. You are limited to the person you are dealing with, who you enter into an agreement. So that agreement is Egypt, is a limited agreement. But in Egypt, there is a gentleman called Joseph who makes Egypt an attractive place. Joseph is a man with a jacket of many colors. Joseph is a symbol of your imagination. Many colors symbolizes many possibilities. Nothing in this world has ever been existing in absence of being imagined first. This conversation we're having, the devices we're using, they were first imagined in someone's mind. And that is a symbol of Joseph. Imagination has been given many character names throughout the scriptures. But in this particular conversation in the book of Exodus, we are talking about Joseph as a symbol of your imagination, providing many possibilities. And when imagination is fully awakened, even in the midst of famine, there will be more than enough. That is what you will find in Egypt. As long as you keep Joseph alive, as long as your imagination is present and alive, your marriage will flourish. You know, I learned this somewhere along the way. I've never really had a major problem with my marriage, but I wanted to spice it up. And I learned this concept, and guess what? I started imagining my wife in a way that I'm like, wow, she is this. And I'm having these imaginary things about my wife, not as a person that maybe she did this, she did that. Because most of you, in your relationship, you imagine the people you are in love with for that which they have done to you. You imagine their behavior, like, man, I hate when he does that or she does that. Whatever. You're going to reference, see that picture, talk about it based on a point of weakness. And can you believe he did that day? That's ridiculous, man. I love that man, but man, the way he does it, guess what? You're imagining it, but the wrong way, from a point of view of weakness. Actually, that point of view, it said you have killed, Joseph died. Because you're no longer, to imagine it have to be something live, from the scripture point of view. I want to imagine the beautiful things. And that's the symbol of Joseph. An awakened imagination. Imagination that see things from the beauty point of view. So that's why you went to Egypt. And things were thriving. When you got into that marriage, things were beautiful, whether it's a first day or a second day, if it lasts a week, or 2 days, 3 days, month, years, but things were beautiful. Why? Because Joseph was alive, because you were curious. You dared to imagine the good things about that marriage, about that relationship. And you kept doing it over and over and over. But then, before I add the then word, let's talk about the place called Goshen. In Egypt, there's a place called Goshen. And this place called Goshen is a very unique place in Egypt. It is a place where the children of Israel, when they were asked where they should sit, and they said, let's go to Goshen, a beautiful place. So in the midst of Egypt, where it is called a place of limitation and hardship, because of imagination, there is this place of beauty and flourishment. Today, no matter where you are in your marriage, you have a place that it is possible to experience the fullness that you've once desired or dream of. And that's what the book is about. And that's what my book is about. That's what my course is about, teaching you to be able to embody that dream, that desire, that hope. Because we're told in the book of Jeremiah 28:11 that it is my desire. It is not my will for you to suffer. God says that, not me. God says it's not for you to have a hardship in relationship, to struggle in having a meaningful relationship, to be happy in a relationship. That is not a way to live your life. So this concept of Egypt and the concept of conformity are one and the same. So you went to Egypt, went to this marriage because you wanted survival, sustenance. You're looking to a way to sustain yourself in a particular manner. And the way you could have done that is to enter into a union. So you enter into this union, beautiful union. Scripture calls it Egypt. And you settle, because it's beautiful, you settle in Goshen, a place of joyfulness, a place of possibility. It was very fertile land, it is said, meaning that things are possible. So you settle in this place. Everything was possible. Maybe you even thought the Cinderella story is true. It is true, by the way, because I'm living it every single day with my wife. I am not lying. I am more happier than I've ever been in my life. She makes me smile. I am being more myself every single day in her company. Yep, I do all kind of things that I can just be myself. And I can be that I just erupt and be something. I'm just having fun, and she will laugh. She will laugh for things I'm like, how is that funny? But because she sees it from a different point of view, so it becomes funny. I'm her favorite comedian. I am her favorite artist. I take great pride. She is also for me. So Cinderella story is true. It's possible. But you enter into this marriage, into this place, and you felt this thing is like amazing. So you settle in a place of possibilities. Everything was possible. You guys had dreams and plans and said, we're going to do this, we're going to travel, we're going to live life, we're going to do all of this. I love you so much, and I love you so much. And so much love was happening. That's Goshen. A place of possibility, so fertile, meaning that you can plant anything and it will produce. So there's this place of possibility. But responsibility comes in, as many people say. Professionalism demanded more of you, so you lie to yourself. And all of these are what we call Pharaoh. Ideas that prohibits you from experiencing the fullness of what Goshen offers. These ideas, an assumption you make as a result of those ideas, is what is considered to be Pharaoh. Is not a person. The scripture says, a new Pharaoh arose and forgot about Joseph, what was done, Joseph did. Egyptians were very much known as history keeper. They wrote their history from ages and ages and ages. If anything have to do with writing, probably it began in Egypt. Guess what? If they were a history keeper, you want to tell me a Pharaoh, and especially when it came to the kingdom, they kept record of things. One Pharaoh might choose to destroy a record of another because of their personal vendetta, but it doesn't mean the record did not exist. So in this case, a Pharaoh could not come and not find a record of Joseph, especially if the one who passed away was the one who kept record of what Joseph is. So the story is telling us something more than what the narrative is. As Apostle Paul says, the letter kills, the arrangement of words, letters to words and words to paragraph, that reading kills. It means that it doesn't give you the benefit, the transformation you need, but the spirit, the awakening of the letter gives life. It means it allows you to live consistent with your desires because it teaches you how to do so. And in the book Unbound is what I am actually breaking it down step by step using the story of Exodus. And my course, the 12-week program, you will, if one takes, then they learn no longer only about the story of Exodus, but they are encountering other stories, like the story of Abraham. What does that imply into your marriage? And how do you apply the technique and the secret hidden in that story to unravel the tools that will allow you to experience the success, the fullness of joy in your relationship? Then you come to read the story of Jonah and his story and his adventure. But you're going to learn how to go through your own adventurous journey that will lead you in experiencing a life that is full of joy. Because at the end, he went and preached against the people of Nineveh. And we're told they repented, meaning that transformation took place. So at the end of the module that talks about Jonah, you will experience the fullness of transformation that you need in order to experience life, your marriage in a way you should. Amazing. And then we go to the story, to the story of the story, the crucifixion story, where you're going to learn in that story how you can actually crucify yourself with Christ. So you can be resurrected as a new person. You might have wounds to prove that you went through something, but you are standing up as a new person, a one who is resurrected. Amazing. And then I give you a bonus program from it, which is about the concept of self-love, where it is anchored on this very simple but powerful, punchy statement. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. The key is as you love yourself. You're going to learn how to love yourself so you can love your neighbor. And your neighbor is not the person next door. Forget about that. The scriptures, if you read, it gives us a parable and revelation of who is your neighbor. Your neighbor is simply your circumstances. So learn to love yourself in a way that you can love your experience, your circumstances in life. Powerful, revelation that you will never, I can assure you, have heard it anywhere else but in this program. But all be told, to answer the question that started this conversation is, when you, as in Egypt, the children of Israel become conformed by the circumstances they were experiencing because Joseph died. The only time, in fact, when you accept your circumstances, when you said, oh, I am not qualified for, oh, my marriage is broken, oh, my husband is this, the only moment that happens is when your imagination is no longer acting as Joseph. So we said Joseph died. When Joseph died, you start complaining according to your circumstances. So the children of Israel felt like they were subjected to great labor, in pain, and enslavement. And that's what happened. So I don't want to take away what the book is about in every chapter, but I wanted to answer that question. Conformity is simply to come into an agreement with your circumstances. And that's what happened to the children of Israel. And as a result of that, they suffered significantly. Today, you have been deprived of your joy. So you're living in Egypt, but you're not benefiting with the value that Goshen offers. You are a slave of the concept called Pharaoh, your belief system. He cannot be changed. Or marriage is hard. Divorce is the only way forward. All of those are concepts of Pharaoh. And they will deprive you of the peace of mind, the joy and laughter that you could have had, the clarity that would afford you more health and vigor, and your Cinderella story to become true. Those concepts are what have been termed idea of Pharaoh. It is the Pharaoh concept. and it will continue to be in your life, provided you continue to entertain its presence. To conform is to come into an agreement. Be renewed instead of conform. So Apostle Paul writes to the Romans. And how do you renew? How do you transform yourself? Through the renewal of the mind. Before you became a professional, you didn't have the knowledge of the things that you're doing today. And that absence of knowledge did not hinder you. Instead, you renew your mind. You added additional knowledge that enable you or equipped you with know-how that today you're exercising it so effectively to earn and be revered in your profession. That's transformation. My program does that. The book Unbound does that. Give you new information that will afford you an opportunity to use it so that you can renew your mind. Introduce new concept, the how-to, so that when you apply it, a new person can emerge, a new experience can follow. Just like when before you were a professional, maybe you were broke, you struggled. But by adding that knowledge and practice it, you brought about a transformation financially in your life. And now today you are living a life in a different way. So a new person has emerged. As a physical being, you are still the same, but you have a sense of pride for being successful in your career. That's what this is all about. Using the same technique, but in a spiritual way where we can quicken the process. As Jesus said, the harvest is now, not 4 months, now. That being said, I want to welcome you by clicking the link below. Or if you are listening this podcast, this conversation on any of the podcast platform, look on the description, you will find the link. And in that link, it will lead you to where you can be able to get more information about this book, the book Unbound, but also you might be interested in taking some of the courses or getting resources that will further enhance your journey. It is such a phenomenal and amazing journey, and I welcome you with all arms and a big smile. Because guess what? This is where relationship meets transformation. And we know that transformation only comes through the renewal of the mind. And each and every of these episodes, I give you these golden nuggets that afford you the opportunity and the privilege to renew your mind and experience the fullness of joy in your relationship. Until then, let's meet again in this conversation.